Gonna grab the shake.
Is that a magic bullet?
Yeah, bro, the magic bullet.
Every morning, man, for me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, bro.
It's the best way to make shakes.
Oh, 100%.
I'm low-key looking for a sponsor. I'm just joking. Okay, hold on. Let me put this aside. I'll probably just use this for the intro. Ready?
Yeah.
Ready? This is it, man. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Median Podcast.
That's good. That's good.
I'm here with a very humble man who is basically an upcoming artist, upcoming DJ, looking to break the ice and become world famous.
Let's get it.
People, ladies and gentlemen, this is Nat.
What's up, guys? SANYO Music. Check me out.
There you go.
Instagram.
SANYO Music, guys.
Let's go. Instagram, SoundCloud. You already know where it's at. Let's get it. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. We have to make sure that people come through and watch your stuff. We'll watch, more like listen to your sets.
True.
But thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem, bro. Happy to be here.
So now, the most important question.
What's up?
Tell me a bit about yourself. Who are you?
My name is Nathaniel. I'm from Montreal.
Nice.
I assume most people on this podcast as of now.
Most likely, yeah.
I lived in Pancourt pretty much my entire life, which is on the outskirts of Montreal. Grew up there pretty much. Soon to be John Abbott College graduate. I'm currently working on music production and DJing, something that I've really taken an interest and liking to over the past couple of years, and something that I'm really trying to devote my time to. And yeah, I'm just an ordinary light skin from Montreal, man. Ain't nothing special about me yet.
Well, yet that's
keyword yet.
Because how many hours a week do you put into your practice, basically?
A week.
Yeah.
It really varies, man. Not enough, that's for damn sure. I need to start putting in more work, but with school and everything right now, it's tough to really devote a lot of time to it, but soon I'll be done with school, so I'll be able to focus more on it. But I like to say right now, I average 4 to 5 hours a week, sometimes more if I have more free time.
Yeah. And what does that consist of when you're practicing? Are you creating? Are you working more on creating a set with popular songs? Like, how does it work when you're in the studio, basically?
Basically, it changes. I have ADHD, so I can't really focus on one thing at once. My mind's all over the damn place. So I'll be working on projects, and I'll be like, all right, let me go check on SoundCloud, see who's released new music, and then start buying or downloading songs that I like for future sets and stuff like that. But basically, lately I've been focusing a lot on my production. I feel like in order to kind of break out in the music industry as a DJ, it really helps a lot if you have your own content that's out there. You have your own music. So lately I've been really focusing on my music production as a whole. Not so much DJing. I haven't really put out any mixes lately because, again, my focus has been strictly
creating
on
yourself,
right,
your own music and stuff.
Exactly. And I'm learning also, I'm starting to get the grasp of learning how to promote yourself as well, because that's another really important thing in the music industry. I've come to realize it's really about connections and who you know, and getting your name out there. And it's not only just your content. It's really about connections. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
You can have some bangers out there, but if nobody's listening to your shit, nobody's listening to your shit. You know what I mean? So I'm focusing on how to get people to listen to your shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I'm kind of all over the place right now. I don't really have any focus right now. I'm just kind of.
But you said your mind is quite sporadic at times. You'll be focusing on one thing and then you'll go to the next. Yeah. Do you consider that a superpower in some sense? You could take advantage of that and maybe find more time to create? Maybe not find more time. I should word it more do you think that it helps you create? Straight up.
It has its perks, but it also it can create conflict at times too, because I'll be I'll be working on something and I'll have like a musical idea.
Yeah.
But then I'll find like a roadblock, whether like in terms of production, there's something that I can't do. There's something that I can't nail quite properly. And me being someone with a scattered brain, like once I'm working on something that's very tedious for a long period of time, I'll just kind of like, all right, screw this, on to the next thing. I don't want to deal with this right now. But then I'll lose whatever musical inspiration that I had in that moment.
Yeah.
So it has its dilemmas, but at the same time, I'm getting multiple things done at once. Yeah. So this way I can push out a bunch of content at one time.
So how long will it take you to finish a project on average? From like A to Z.
To be completely honest with you, aside from my mixes, I don't have any finished products.
Yeah, and that's not a problem, because essentially that's the process, right?
Right, exactly.
Is that you'll be able to find momentum, like you said, right? Like sometimes you'll lose momentum, so you'll feel like it's lingering too long, so you want to go to the next, the next song. But I think that's pretty interesting nonetheless, because it just makes you more hungry,
Yeah, for sure. Also, I'm really like, I don't want to put out garbage, you know what I mean? I really want what I put out to be the best I possibly can.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I feel like, I'm kind of like a perfectionist in that sense.
Yeah.
I feel like if there's even the slightest thing I don't like, if there's a certain drum doesn't sound nice, I'll just like, I'll spend like 20 minutes just trying to fix that one little sound, you know what I mean? And that being said, like, I really want what I put out to be the best possible work I can do. And like currently right now I'm actually working on, I want to release a beat pack.
Nice.
I've had a lot of talented, up and coming rappers in the area, and just artists in general that are hitting me up, yo, like, I need beats. I'm like, yo, I got you. So right now I'm really trying to work on this beat pack. I have a bunch of project files of different instrumentals and like beats that I'm working on. Some cater to certain artists' style.
Yeah.
And right now I'm really trying to focus on getting that out there right now. Yeah.
That's super cool, because essentially what it allows you to do also is to work with like different people, different styles, different genres. So it's a challenge, but when you cross that finish line, it's a beautiful victory.
Right.
But what would be considered the most, basic training when it comes to producing? For example, like, I like photography.
Okay.
But when I first started, I couldn't, go out and just walk downtown and take nice pictures, because I didn't really know how the camera worked.
Right.
So what I would do is I'd sit down, watch YouTube videos, and then practice in the backyard.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of like that world you're comfortable with, you'll try and photograph as much as you can to then take in, all the knowledge as much as you can.
Right.
And then now bring it to the real world.
Right.
So now I'm at a point where I'm okay going downtown, for example, or going to different places and taking those pictures, because I've understood the technical aspect with the places I knew. Right. So what would be like a basic training for someone who's looking to become a DJ? Like, where would you start? Do you think, like, because if you're mixing and stuff, I'm sure that brings a lot of new ways to look at things, I guess, right?
100%.
It allows
100%.
you to look at things in a different way, basically.
For sure. DJing and production are two very different arts, but they do coincide in certain ways with certain aspects. But for someone that's starting out in terms of production, YouTube. Oh my gosh, YouTube saved my life so many times, man.
Yeah.
You can, anything you want to know about music production, anything, like, I mean anything, it's on YouTube. 100% guarantee you'll find it there. But when I started producing, if there were certain things that I kind of wish I took note of earlier, I would say it would be things like musical key. So, every song has its key and its scale. That's something that I kind of didn't really pay much attention to when I started producing. Actually, up until maybe like less than a year ago, it wasn't something that I really
like
saw as important, but it's so important. You need to know like which key you're writing your music in. I don't want to go into great detail about it because it's you know, it's rather complex, but essentially every song has an 8-note scale. Like if you look on a piano, you have 8 notes that are played within every single song.
Okay.
Or most songs anyway. Yeah. And knowing which notes are playable in your song is super important. Okay. And I used to just, you know, I'll be cooking up a beat or whatever, and I would just go, like when I'm making my melodies or whatever, I would go with what sounded good. And that's essentially what a musical scale is. It's what sounds good to the ear, you know? But to know which notes are in your scale before producing helps so much when it comes to, you know, writing chords, when it comes to writing melodies. Even drums, like your drums, sometimes if they're out of key, it won't sound good in your mix. Yeah. And that's something that, you know, I wish I paid more attention to when I started producing. Another thing is, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, so basically, when you started like watching YouTube and learning about the keys, what was like the next step?
Well, that's the thing. Musical key was something that I kind of only picked up on later.
Like later, yeah.
When I started, I was really just, you know, trying to nail down drum patterns that didn't sound offbeat. You know what I mean? Having drum patterns that sounded well, because I mean, essentially, drums are the backbone of your music. The drums, you know, carry the song, and yeah. So that was basically my main focus. Another thing is the technicalities of music. Yeah. In terms of like audio effects, so like compression, limiting, reverb, you know, the list goes on, equalizing, you know, learning about frequency spectrum. You know, you have your low end, you have your high end, you have your mid, being able to essentially carve your music so that every single track sounds good in your entire mix is super important. So that's another thing as well. You know, learning about the frequency spectrum in music is super, super important, because if you have certain frequencies of sound that are clashing, won't sound good. And again, these are things that you kind of, you pick up as you go, but they're things that I kind of wish I knew in the beginning. It would have helped a lot more. Yeah.
Make more sense of what you were doing, basically. Exactly. Because I guess at the beginning, it was more self-taught than than technical. You were just like, you were going by ear, basically, like you were mentioning. So you'd say, okay, well, that sounds good. So let me stick with that for a bit. But now looking, I'm sure that you probably look back at your old stuff and you're like, I could have changed that like a lot, right? Right. Yeah.
And I have some friends now that are just learning kind of how to produce as well. And they know a lot more in their current, you know, in the current duration that they've been working on music production than I did when I was at that stage of production. And that's because they really kind of grasped an understanding of the technicalities of music early on, which is something I wish I did, as opposed to just, you know, throwing a bunch of sounds and a bunch of tracks and like, all right, export, sounds blessed.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. It's gonna be lit and call it a day, basically.
Exactly. And then like you said, I listened back to some of those tunes, man.
Yeah, and you're like, I can't believe I did that. But I find that's basically that basically illustrates our process.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think 100%. It feels better, like looking back at it and knowing you've improved. Yeah, because if you look at it now and you're like, oh, that's good, and maybe it's not a good sign, like there hasn't been much of an improvement. Right. So at the same time, yeah, I guess it's frustrating, because you're definitely like, I wish I could have done it, but it's also, I would assume, gratifying as well, because then you're like,
for sure,
like, okay, now I'm this much better.
Exactly.
And then now you can leave that behind and go on to the next step.
For sure.
Because that's part of the process, man.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, exactly. You get to compare your work now to your, you know, your old stuff, and exactly, you get to see how much you've improved as an artist, you know, and how much, you know, how you've hit, you know, a milestone compared to then, you know.
Yeah, but what I respect a lot about artists in general is that they're not afraid to take those risks. For example, releasing your music puts you on top of a lot of people, right? Because there's that inner dialogue that usually happens where people will doubt their work. doubt themselves, feel like they're not technically sound when they create, so they won't post it.
Right.
But you know what? Besides posting, just creating in general. So I think I definitely respect your courage to do that, because it still takes a lot of guts. Just yourself waking up, listening to your beat, being like, okay, like I like this. Now I'm going to share it with the world.
Right.
And now being at a point where your mixing has improved, and now your production level is getting to where you want it to be.
Right.
You're definitely going to find like a nice like, I wouldn't say necessarily middle ground, but like a nice pace.
Right.
And then just roll with it. Because I would assume this summer you have a lot of things lined up in terms of like smaller milestones that you want to accomplish.
100%. Yeah.
So what would be the next big thing?
Well, like I said, I got to release this damn beat pack. I got to put that shit out there.
And that's going to go on SoundCloud, Instagram, like you're posting it everywhere?
Yeah, and it's going to be free download. So anybody can just go and download it and, start recording over it. And again, I have certain beats that are catered to certain artists. Like I know,
of course,
you plan on having the Court Jester on your podcast. I have some beats I'm working on for him. I see you, Jeremy. I see you. Shout out Jeremy. Shout out to Court Jester. And even my boy Aaron, a.k.a. the kid from space. Yeah. G Lucid, my boy too. I'm listening to the music that they're putting out, and I'm like, okay, I wanna work on something that caters to their style of music, Yeah. So I want to be able to get some beats out there so that they can record over, because these are very talented individuals, and to come out as a producer, that's usually what happens. You have that one artist that makes that hit, and it's on your beat, and that's how you start to get exposure as a producer. Yeah. Because I find producers are being brought to the limelight a lot more now versus a couple years ago. Before, like, maybe 10 years ago, less than that, producers weren't really, they weren't in mainstream. Exactly. Like no one knew who produced what. Like you had in the rap scene, you had like Zaytoven and like Metro Boomin. Those were the only two producers people knew. But now you have so many more producers that are like being, brought to the forefront. Like, London on the Track with Young Thug, Flexion with Comethazine, I'm trying to think, like Diablo with Lil Pump and like Smoke Perp. You have Ronnie J. You have so many producers now that people know. Like you say these names and people know. Yeah, they're like, I know their work, and they have a sense of what would I say? They have a status basically. Right. They become like these important figures in the rap industry, or just in the music industry in general. For sure, 100%. And that's cool, because at that point, because for example, I'm someone, when I listen to a song, will have a harder time listening to the lyrics because the beat carries over for me. Like I like the technical side of a song. Right. So for me to now get to meet these producers, I think I could find different sources of inspiration. For sure. I definitely am not in the music industry with what I do, but I definitely like to listen to certain songs and then say like, okay, well, this inspired me to do something. Right. So that's what's cool about, I guess, the way things are going for you, especially, is that you'll be able to not only, provide a beat, provide a product to someone, but you'll be able to take some fame, so to speak, back towards, and you'll receive some fame for yourself, and then use that to build your brand. Because I think it's important to be somewhat selfish in a sense where you got to respect your art. Right, and not 100%. let the rappers take it all, but all respect to the rappers too. For like, sure. I know they're not out here to push you down and say like, yeah, this guy, this kid, he made a beat, whatever. Like I would assume you guys all respect each other, that's for sure. But it's pretty cool though, because that means it's gonna help you a lot for sure. Right. And I think actually on the topic you mentioned earlier, I think with producers being put more to the forefront now is a result of rap music being something that's more focused on, you know, the flow and the beat and the overall production versus the lyrics, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's like hip hop has made a huge shift in that sense. I mean, you still do have your lyrical rappers like J. Cole and Kendrick and stuff like that, but you look at the rappers that are out here, you know, hyping up crowds, and you know, the songs that you listen to at house parties and in the club, it's songs that, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, don't really have a huge diversity in terms of lyricism. They're very, you know, all focused on almost the same topic and all, you know, bust down wrist, you know, lean in my cup, chains on my neck. Yeah, those are the songs that bang. You know, those are the songs that you're in the club like, hey, you know what I mean?
It works. And it works. Yeah.
And that being said, I feel like people are you know, like, oh damn, like this beat slaps. Who made that? Who made that? Who produced that? And I think that's why, you know, producers now are being pushed a lot more to the forefront. And like I was saying before, you know, you look at Zaytoven and, you know, like, you know, even earlier, like Timberland and stuff like that. People, you know, these were like the only producers that people kind of knew about, and that was because they were the ones that were making those funky beats and stuff like that. Where like, you know, at that particular time in, you know, rap music, good songs were songs that had, you know, good lyrics and songs that were very, you know, had a message. Yeah. Whereas now the message is very consistent, and it's, you know, it's essentially the same thing, but you know, that's what slaps. That's what the kids want. You know, that's what the kids listen to.
And it's like so related to the aesthetic. The aesthetic we're looking for. If you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, you go on social media, period, a lot of people try and get with this aesthetic that's basically mirrored with culture. Right. Like
the dyed dreadlocks and the,
you know,
and the grills.
Like, but that works though.
Yeah,
because it's so in, and everyone's on that, and I think that's super interesting. But do you think? And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I'm assuming that transition in culture helped transition the rap industry as well. I don't know who came before. I guess I would have to assume that the culture, well, obviously I would assume the culture shifted before the rap, right? Because at that point you have to let, you know, people try different things and then have the rap follow. But do you think that the transition to from lyrics to more beat heavy songs was natural, or it was actually calculated? Like someone would, like, cause I'm not familiar with necessarily who innovated that specific trend, you know, like do you know who, like, because I would assume it's maybe more than one person. It just became more popular. But was it natural or was it calculated? Like you saw it coming because people were like, this is gonna be the next thing.
It's hard to say.
It's hard a tough to say. Question. I guess that one you'd really have to like look in depth there. But when did it start shifting though? Do you remember what year it was? Because like EDM, I remember was huge for a minute in like 2010 to like 2013.
Like Big Room House and stuff like that.
Because I remember like
I feel like it was a natural process. I feel like you know, I mean, obviously every single artist has their own unique style, but again, at the end of the day, you know, hip hop now, or I guess not hip hop, rap and, you know, mumble rap has really shifted towards a very kind of standardized platform.
It's like cookie cutter almost.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think it kind of was like, oh, like, okay, how am I going to stand out from him? You know what I mean? And that's when, like, you know, people started coming up with the funky ass hair. And
basically.
And like, you know, I guess, you know, flashy chains have always been a thing, but like, you know, when you start having like the really ignorant chains, like the chains that, you know, like, and like grills and stuff like that, like that's always been a thing. But like now it's like, it's even flashier, you know what I mean? You have people with like shark teeth grills and like rainbow colored grills, you know what I mean? I think it was more like, okay, like, you know, if I'm gonna come up in the music industry, how is my aesthetic gonna differ from other people's? You know, and I think that's where that kind of idea came in. But I think it was a natural process. I don't think it was like, people up there in the big old, record industries were just like
people like puppets and saying, like, we're gonna go this way.
I mean, who knows, right? Because I know the music industry is kind of shady. I mean, who knows? But I don't think so, man. I think it was just a natural process,
Okay, because if you look at Kanye West over the past decade and a half, maybe,
right?
I lined up his album covers,
okay,
just to look at,
right,
and then I listened to like snippets of each album, and like the change is almost unrecognizable. Like, you still know it's Kanye,
right?
But if you look from like College Dropout, 808, and then today, like his new one, it's like the change is detrimental to like how society has changed as well. Like,
for sure.
But that's great because he tried. He knew the only way to stay relevant.
It was exactly. Well, he's smart in that sense. He kept up with the trends, but at the same time, he still kept that, that Kanye sound. You know what I mean? He didn't like completely like, oh damn, like I need to start throwing in, A and ad libs in the back of my music, like, to fit in with everybody, but he did change his sound and his those are dogs.
The guard dogs are barking.
He did change his sound to keep up with the times, but still, kept that, Kanye.
Like, yes, Kanye, like his spirit was like always there.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly.
Within every song, every album. But when you listen to a Kanye track, do you know it's him?
Yeah.
As a producer, because I watched a video about Kanye and how he utilizes sound differently than many people. He'll use voice as an instrument more than average on a lot of his songs. So when you sit down and you listen to a song, kind of like, I don't know, like a director has his own style. Like, he always uses flashy colors in all of his movies, so it's this type of film.
Right.
Do you
There's
think
a lot of explosions, Michael Bay?
Yeah, basically a lot of explosions. If there are robots, cars, and explosions, it's Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Basically, so do you think that? So I would assume the same thing happens when you're listening to a song. You kind of know who like the producer would be. So that being said, do you look for that and finding your own little, like, I guess, to expand on your own artistry and find your own voice, or do you want to be more cookie cutter and just kind of follow the trend? And like, so essentially what I'm asking is, are you going to end up finding your own identity as a producer so that when people listen to your track, they know it's you?
Again, I feel like, despite, the rap scene being very, one-tracked, I feel everybody does have their own unique sound in their own way, you know? And I feel like you have to, in order to come up, and to be noticed, Yes. Yeah, you look at all the hottest rappers right now, they all have funky ass hair. But like, Trippie Redd's sound is completely different from Rich the Kid. Yeah. You ask your mom or your grandma, you show them a picture of both, they probably think it's the same damn person. Yeah. But like, like, they have their own unique sound. So yes, I would like to have my own unique sound. I don't want to be like everybody else, because I feel like the people that do try to be like everybody else and the people that do try to lick off other people's ideas are the people that don't make it. And I was watching a video from an EDM producer named Ghastly, and he was talking about that very subject. He would have fans send him music and be like, hey, I just came out with this song, I'm really trying to sound like da 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 da. What do you think? And he says, like, almost every single time someone sends him a song and says that they're trying to sound like another artist, it sounds like trash, because nobody can be that artist. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you're there just trying to bite somebody's ideas and bite somebody's flow, like, you're not original and people are going to forget about you. You know what I mean?
I like that. Yeah. I like that. So he actually takes like he actually gives advice, he'll like help young artists, like he'll take emails and
for
like
sure,
basically help them on their track and stuff.
Right. And that's actually something I really like about the electronic scene, the EDM scene, is I feel like artists in that industry are a lot more supportive to people on the come up, or people that are trying to aspire to become an artist. They're, you know, a lot of EDM producers and stuff do tutorials on YouTube. And you know, again, I feel like EDM producers engage a lot more with their fans directly, you know, if you reach out to them. Whereas, I mean, I guess because, you know, the rap scene is a much bigger industry, they probably have a lot more people trying to reach out to them, so they don't necessarily have the resources or time. But, you know, so I do think that in the electronic scene, they're a lot more supportive of, you know, their fans, and especially their fans that are trying to come up into the same industry as them, you know?
That's super cool. Would you, so down the line, are you trying to become a producer in the EDM scene, in the rap scene? Are you looking to be a chameleon in the sense where you change like patterns depending on where you're at? Like, what are you looking on doing?
Like, I don't really want to associate myself with any specific genre right now. Like, I just see myself as a music producer and a DJ, not specific to any genre, because once you start labeling yourself as a producer or an artist of a specific genre, that's when people have expectations. You know, that's when people start to criticize, and people start to like, oh, I thought you were an EDM producer, what are you doing making these rap beats? So I want to just, right now I'm just producing in all the genres that I take a liking to. And that's the thing, my musical taste is very vast. I like all music, you know, so, you know, with limitations, I like most music, you know. So I'm just basically just making content in terms of music that I take a liking to.
And then from there, like we were kind of talking about earlier, you're going to shape your identity.
Right, exactly. I feel like that comes with time.
Of course.
Finding your sound comes with time. It's not something like, you know, all right, this is what I want my sound to be like. It's something like, as you grow as an artist, you start to discover your I don't know, is niche the right word?
Niche. You're like your niche, your market, your
right, exactly,
your audience, so
for sure. And
because you can't please everybody, but
right,
you definitely.
And it's like that with visual art as well. It's like you start to. I feel like no visual artist comes in and is like, okay, like I want all my paintings to be, you know, themed in this particular way. I feel like you just go with it, and then you start to see where your you know, your creative mindset takes you. You know?
No, I agree, because making a podcast, for example, you have an idea of what it could be like. You're like, okay, well, I'm gonna have this and that and this, but the more you record, the more you make them, you're like, okay, maybe I could change this, I could change that. So I think that it definitely does take time to shape an identity. For sure. I had a friend who came on the podcast last week, and he was talking about how his mission statement for his YouTube channel changed like several times over many years. For sure. At first it was a hobby, then it became more of a like a job, like a part-time job, and then it became like a career almost. Like now he's really going all in for his YouTube channel. Because he was able to make that grow into something that's bigger than what he expected. Because the thing is that it's so hard to it's so hard. It's impossible to predict the future, basically. You might have an intuition, you might have a feeling, you might have a theory of where it could all go. But I think that the best way to prepare for the future is to prepare yourself for what is to come, for what might come. So you kind of like, you know, give yourself all these different options, and you just study, practice. So when that door opens, you're ready to walk in fully confident and knowingly, you know, knowing that you're capable of basically executing on your stuff. For sure. So I think it's very important to take that time and not really worry about where you're headed or this or that. Because I would I would assume you probably like have certain questions sometimes about your music and stuff.
Right. All the time.
Right. Yeah. So like, but how do you, I wouldn't say cancel the noise, because in my opinion, I think it's important to have questions, to doubt yourself, because then it allows you to really take the time to find the answer and maybe go in a different direction, but stay within the art. But how would you work with that? If you're asking yourself one day, you wake up, you're like, I don't know how I feel, or this or that. Like, how do you get past that hump, that obstacle, and keep moving forward? What's one trick for you? Does that
just reminding myself it's all about consistency.
Okay.
It's because it does happen where like I do, and I'm sure it happens to everybody. Like you're like, oh, there's 100 that's an understatement, thousands of other producers in this world, or DJs in this world. Like, what's gonna make me stand out? How am I gonna be different? And I feel like people who kind of let that mindset take control of them are the people that that's where talent gets wasted. You know what I mean? And just to kind of remind yourself that I'm sure Martin Garrix, I'm sure Excision, I'm sure Kanye West, just to name a couple, all had that mentality at one point. But through consistency and through just still going at it and still putting your time towards it, they were still able to gain recognition through their work, and they were able to adapt their sound and come up with formulate who they were as an artist, or who they are as an artist. And I think that's key. I think it's just reminding yourself that consistency and determination is what's going to separate you from everybody else, and is what's essentially the key to success.
Yeah.
And that goes for anything. It goes for for training, for an athlete. There's always going to be that person that's better than you. There's always going to be that one person that knows more than you. You're never going to be the best at something, but to be consistent with your craft and your work and what you strive to achieve, that is the sauce. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the secret recipe, man. Basically. That's the Krabby Patty formula.
The Krabby, we found it. It's been revealed on the Median podcast. But you know what? Like, I actually like what you said about how you'll never be the best.
Right.
And I think the way I could break it down to take that in, because I think that's like a really interesting point of view, is that throughout life, you're gonna if you're consistent, if you're constantly practicing on your art, or if you're in business, you're a scientist or whatnot, if you're constantly working towards an end goal, I think for a brief moment you will become the best, but then someone else comes in after you.
Yeah.
So being the best is more enjoying the process.
Right.
Like, never really. I don't know. I can compare it to the music industry, just like we have, like they have music charts.
Right.
Like, this song was #1 for 8 weeks, and then a better song came in.
Right.
Because people constantly roll with different stuff, different feelings, different this or that.
For sure.
So being the best is actually not being #1 on the chart. It's actually working your way up there, knowing that someone's going to come and replace you, and then how can I get back up?
Yeah.
Because you're always going to be fluctuating. Look at Drake. Like, Drake's probably one of the greatest, like...
For sure, the biggest name in music right now.
Probably, the biggest guy in the industry, and he's not #1 every week.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like, so then I could come in and say, like, well, he's not really the best, is he?
Right.
But then you could argue, well, no, but like, look at all his platinum records or this or that. So I guess, at the end of the day, like, you could compare a lot of things. There could be an argument, but I think the argument would have no end, because, like you said, it's really consistency. So I think it's important also to realize that the end goal is not the end.
Right.
It's just the end of one goal.
Right.
And then from there, you could keep going onto your second, third, fourth, and hit different milestones.
Right.
But do you work like you have a big picture and then you like engineer it, like
work
reverse,
towards,
and then you work towards it?
Exactly.
But how do you, like, how small are your goals? Do you do like daily things, weekly things? Like, how do you strive before you get to that big picture?
I set my expectations high. I always have a high end goal. You know, like I tell myself, like I said, you know, I want to release this beat pack.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have any, you know, I mean, I give myself a time frame. Like, I would like to have it out within the next 2 months, let's say. But I don't have like a specific goal unless it requires me to.
Yeah.
So like there's a DJ competition. I don't know if the podcast will be out by then, but there's a DJ contest that you had to put out a mix, and essentially the mix with the most votes, and after judge's decision, gets to perform a set at, you know, the local EDM festival here in Montreal that they have annually, Il Sonic. You get to perform a set on their main stage. So I was like, oh, like I want to get my mix out as soon as possible. So in situations like that, I will have a specific goal that I would like to achieve. But in terms of just, you know, if I don't have any deadlines, I kind of just like to just go with the flow and just work towards it at a pace that I feel comfortable at. Yeah. You know?
And that Il Sonic competition.
Yeah.
Is that something that's available with different organizations throughout the year, or is it only really like a summer thing?
Well, the company that collaborated with Il Sonic for this contest is a music promotional like platform.
Brand. Okay.
And it was like it's a contest that they have annually. They have it for other festivals as well, not just Il Sonic. And yeah, essentially it's just you upload your mix on their platform, and again, whoever has the most votes. No, actually, no, that's not true. It's not whoever has the most votes win, because again, it comes down to the judge's decision in the end. But yeah, it's an annual thing that they do.
Nice.
And yeah, that being said, if the podcast is out in time, you already know what to
do.
Go vote. SANYO Music. I don't remember the title. It's probably Il Sonic Wavo Contest. Wavo's the website. Go vote for me. You already know what it is.
Please go do that. Yeah, we're at 42 minutes.
Okay.
I usually like to stick around 45 to an hour.
All right, cool.
So we could definitely start wrapping it up.
Yeah, for sure.
I really think that it's important definitely to stay consistent.
Yeah.
I think that's one key word that I could take from this for sure. I guess one little thing to close it off and kind of just finish on what we were talking about. What would be the best advice you could give someone who's looking to do the same thing?
I guess on the topic of what we were discussing before, in a song by Wiz Khalifa, what's that song called?
You can look it up on your phone. We have time.
Hold up. I think it's called No Pain, No Gain or some shit. Hold on.
I think like one of his older tracks, eh?
It was on Black Hollywood. I know that.
Hey, that one I haven't heard in a minute.
That is a great album.
Yo, but have you seen Wiz lately? He's jacked now, huh?
Yeah, he's
fit. An MMA guy. Like,
yeah,
he's
like
man. Fighting and training. Like, he has like abs, not like
I know. Good for him,
like,
man. It's
skinny
crazy.
abs, like really, like he's jacked, bro.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy to see how someone who smokes so much dope has such a strong work ethic. Because
trust,
man, like I love me some good reefer every now and then, you know what I mean?
Bad, yeah.
But man, sometimes that shit just kills my motivation, bro. Like, I'll be like, all right, I'm finna hit the studio, smoke a blunt, and then just lie on my bed. But he's so like, his work ethic is so strong that he's able to
just push through it.
Yeah, but I guess, I mean, for him, I guess everyone reacts differently. Maybe for him, it's kind of like a cup of coffee is to you know, a normal
just
person.
Like a little zing and then call it a day, and then he's good to go. You have the song. Oh, you're checking it out.
So I think it's called No Pain No Gain.
Yeah.
And one thing that one of the lyrics in that song that he says that, you know, still stood out to me to this day is, I've seen so many settle for less. That's where talent gets wasted. And that goes back to the topic of, you know, once you get to a certain spot and you're like, I bet, like, I'm at the top right now.
I'm just gonna chill.
Right. And that's where people kind of fall off. You can't use that, you know, like Wiz Khalifa put out so much stuff before Black and Yellow blew up. Yeah. But after Black and Yellow blew up, he didn't stop at Black and Yellow. No, you know what I mean? He still kept putting out songs like Work Hard, Play Hard. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like On My Level with Too Short, like he had so many hits after that. Yeah. And he stayed consistent with his work ethic. And that's what essentially got him to be, you know, the record label owning artist that he is now, you know, by staying consistent. And again, you know, I've seen so many settle for less. That's where talent gets wasted. And that's, you know, I see that as a quote that really helps me motivate me in my art. One of many.
Wow. That, I think we could use that momentum, that quote, to let the people decide what they have to do.
For sure. With
their art, their life, their passions. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
I really appreciate it.
For sure.
Again, just let us know the Instagram handle and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that way we could.
At Instagram is at SANYO Music. SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/Young SANYO, but with a U. You know, so how edgy like that.
Oh, like Young with a U?
Yeah.
And SANYO is SANYO.
SANYO Electronics. If you're watching this, please don't send me a cease and desist warning to change my name. I like my name.
I like his name too. Respect.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Until next time, everyone who watched the podcast, who listened to the podcast, we love you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
We will see you on the next one. Don't forget to go on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff to go look at more details of the Median Podcast.
Yeah.
And check out this beautiful man's stuff as well. Please go support the music. Again, thank you so much. Until next time. Peace.
Peace, guys.